Howdy once again, it's TUBALCAIN, and this video is really an update on my two videos on compressors that I'm showing right here. And one was TUBALCAIN buys an air compressor, and I'm going to comment on that Harbor Freight here in a minute. And then the other one is the autopsy of a compressor. Now I have another compressor in the basement here, and I bought this at Tractor Supply in 1978. So it's almost as old as the red one, the red Sears that I took apart. So it's very questionable on what the condition of this tank is. Now I wish you would go back to the autopsy video and read some of the comments and horrible things that have happened to people with compressors, tanks blowing up. And remember that this is the bottom of that Sears tank and how it had rusted and thinned out. So in just a second I'm going to drain this tank, which I haven't done, I must confess, in a long time. And this has been fairly reliable. Well, no, it hasn't. I was a young man when I bought this, but I did have to replace the motor. This is a Sears motor, Craftsman motor that I put on there, and I don't know when that I did that, but that's a long time ago. This originally came with a piece of plastic tubing on here, and I replaced that with copper a long time ago. And thirdly, I took the guard off here, by the way, so I can talk about this. Thirdly, there was a hole in this tank when I bought it, and you can see where I have welded it right there, but many years ago, and I forgot all about some of this till I started looking at this thing. I had to blow it off. It was pretty dirty. So I really wonder how much rust there is on the bottom of this and if I should throw it away. Although it is quite serviceable at this time and I seldom use it, but like all of my compressors, this thing leaks like crazy at every possible fitting, so I only turn it on when I use it, and it takes quite a bit of time to come up to pressure. But other than that, and it's a small tank, and it's not very noisy. So those are the things that I liked about this little Husky compressor. It is a cast iron heavy duty pump. I haven't checked the oil in years either. Alright, I'm going to, off camera, see if there's any water in this tank. Okay, I loosened the plug. It's not a cock that you can turn by hand. It's a regular pipe plug, and I put some cardboard under it. It's oily, but not a drop of water came out. I will poke something up through there in case there's rust or crud. That's what sometimes happens when people drain their tanks that have a cock in it, like they used to put in radiators, that they're so plugged up that they assume there's no water in them. But this is a kind of a dry basement. I use a dehumidifier all the time. So anyway, there's no water in the tank, but is the tank thinned out? I recently visited a man in Bloomington, Illinois, who is building a wonderful shop, and he has a huge compressor. It must have a 100-gallon tank. He totally rebuilt it, and he was telling me about that he had to get the tank recertified, and I don't know who does that, but he had the tank recertified, I guess, and inspected. I don't know if they pressure tested or what, but that's the story on this little Tractor Supply compressor that possibly I should replace simply because it's old. Alright, let's go out to the garage now and talk a little bit about that Harbor Freight compressor that I bought and that I was so profusely criticized about. See you in a minute. Off camera, I just turned this thing upside down and poked the crust that was inside the drain plug, so there was quite a crust there, and it blew off, but really no water came out. That kind of surprised me, but that does show that there is sediment under it. I take it back, there's just a minute amount of moisture that blew out of there, and it hasn't been drained in I don't know when. but the crust was considerable, and I had to put the screwdriver in there and do this to break it loose. And there was some pressure in the tank when I did that. It kind of startled me, to be honest with you. And let's talk about some videos that I got coming up. I'll be doing these 3D printer flywheel patterns and making castings of them. These were made for me by Herb Blair out of Texas, and I'll make lead flywheels with that, so watch for that. Also, I've been on a roll here and probably making too many videos about rust removal on steel, but I have a video coming up where it will be a war. It'll be a battle between a vapor rust and white vinegar to see which is better, and well, we know which is cheaper, so watch for that video as well. Now we truly will go out to the garage. Okay, I'm out in the garage, and I bought this little central pneumatic compressor at Harbor Freight a few months ago for $139, I believe it was, and I've been harshly criticized for buying foreign items, but I'm moderated my view on that a little bit, and I do have a lot of foreign things, as everybody watching this does, because if you don't buy some of this stuff from the Far East, you're not going to have it at all. So far I've been pretty well satisfied with this, except that it's noisy. It holds a charge. None of the other compressors that I've ever owned in my life held the charge. They always leaked someplace, and you had to turn them on and bring them up to pressure when you were ready to use them. Didn't want to leave them on overnight because you could hear them running. But anyway, I'm halfway happy with this, other than it's made in another country, but since we are a post-industrial nation now, I guess I don't care. And I've been criticized for using that euphemism too, and I don't like it, but I guess that's the way things are going here. But what I did, and I challenge people to find a compressor in this price range that you could use at home for under $300, let's say, that is built in this country with domestic parts, and I'm going to talk about that in a second. I did go to 4 different stores and do the research, and I took pictures of what they had available, and I'm going to go through that now on my pad. I'll go real quickly because it might run a little bit too long, because I probably looked at 40 different compressors at the 4 different stores. So I'll do that now, and then you can give your opinion in the comments on that. But all right, let's go over to the Kindle Fire here and look at the pictures that I made in the stores. This first batch of pictures is taken at Farm and Fleet, which is a farming type store that we have here in the Midwest. They have quite a few stores, and I really like these stores. But when I came in the aisle, they had a whole stack of these Porter Cables compressors, little pancake compressors. I hate them because they just scream. And I forgot the price. Well, here it is. They're $169. The price is way up at the top here. But there's a little label right here at the tip of the pencil. And let's take a look at what that label says. It says compressor built in the USA with global materials. So you're starting to see that on products. Then I went to another display here where it says DeWalt tools. And they're talking, I guess, about all the tools in this display here. And it says made in the USA, again, with global materials. Here is a Boss stitch for $299. And, you know, I couldn't find the label on some of these as to where they're made, and I was down on my knees and using my flashlight and everything else. The clerks wondered what I was doing. Here's a snap-on that looks suspiciously, look at the handle on here, like my Harbor Freight, and that's no more a snap-on than the Man on the Moon anymore. That's marked at $169, I believe it is. That's made in China. There is a upright compressor, about $300, made in USA, but maybe there's foreign parts, I do not know. Now I'm at, let's see, okay, I'm at another store now. I believe this is one called Rural King, also a farming type store, and there's a little Chinese compressor for $55. Here's their Pro Force for $129, made in China. This one is made in USA, and You know, I can't read the price, but this is a kind of a, well, there's the price. No, I don't know where the price is. Anyway, that's made in USA, but it might say foreign components. I can't read it here, and I did this a few weeks ago. Here is a $400 compressor at Rural King, and that says USA. It's got the flag on it. Here's some DeWalt's, and they appear to be made in China. Here's one made in USA, but that's also a little more expensive, but it looks like kind of a nice one. Now I'm at Home Depot, and I talked to a man there for quite a long time as I was taking these pictures. He didn't seem to object, but there was a little Husky for $140. He said, all of our stuff is China, all of it. There's a $200 compressor. Again, these pancake ones, don't buy one unless you're outdoors and you have a 300-foot hose on it so you can get away from it, but fairly cheap, $129. There's a Porter cable. That's like the ones that were at Farm and Fleet in the boxes, China. Now I am, let's see. I am now at the Sears store, and they had a huge collection. This $149 one is a Briggs & Stratton. I had never seen Briggs & Stratton name on compressors, but I guess they make them, but they're all foreign. That's 200 bucks. There's another Sears, Chinese. I believe that one's Chinese. I don't guarantee it. And there's a whole, now I'm at Harbor Freight. This is where I bought mine, and that's the exact one that I bought. And I just took 2 pictures there, and they have quite a large quantity of them at Harbor Freight. There's another picture of it. And that's also Harbor Freight. But these are all Chinese. Okay. Well, that concludes our little store tour, just to show you and confirm the fact that virtually all of these lower-end compressors are Chinese, unless you want to get up into the $300 range and up, and some of them still have foreign components. So I hope I haven't beat this subject to death, but that this is somewhat enlightening to you, and take the criticism off of me and other people now that are buying some of this stuff. What I was really waiting to do before I bought that one for Harbor Freight was to go to an auction, and I had even seen one in an auction bill, and I thought, boy, I'm going to bid on that because it was old enough to be American made. But now, after doing the autopsy video, I have determined to myself that I don't think I want an older compressor from an auction that is rusted and you cannot really tell the condition of it. So that concludes this video on compressors. This is TUBALCAIN saying so long for now, and I'll see you in my next video.